So recently, courtesy of the screen time tracker, I've realized that I've been using my phone a lot more than I used to. My average screen time has shot up from about 2 hours a day to well over 3 hours a day. So over the last week, I decided to cut my phone screen time usage down to 1 hour a day. Phones are awesome. I, like most people, use mine every day. I love to talk about all the weird and wonderful tech that goes into phones on this channel, and they've changed the way the world works. However, they can also be super addictive, distracting, and a flat-out nuisance to productivity. Phone and app manufacturers have got clever. They're ever tricking us into spending more and more time on our phones with bright wallpapers, flashy animations, and even tactical feedback in some cases. So before I started this challenge, my average phone screen time per day was about 3 hours a day, which, all things considered, is a lot. Now, this has increased over the last few months, but I have noticed both my productivity and my sleep have been affected, so I wanted to do something about it. Let's see how that went. Starting out with day 1 and 2, honestly, I completely forgot I was doing the challenge. I used my phone as normal and racked up hours of phone usage each day. In fact, I only realized at the end of the day that I'd literally spent more time than I usually would on my phone. So yeah, not exactly as planned. It was at this point I realized that tackling the challenge with no plan was a bad idea. So at the end of the second day, I decided that on the third day, I'd give myself an amnesty, come up with a solid plan, and give it another go. The first thing I did after resetting my screen time was to write up a full list of times where I noticed I do tend to compulsively use my phone. I figured out that once I was more aware of these, I'd be able to reduce it. Next up, it was time to get rid of all the tricks that phone manufacturers and app developers have put in place to keep us using our phones more. I set limits for my 3 problem apps, which turned out to be YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Both Instagram and Twitter got a 10-minute limit because I don't really want to be spending more than that on each every day. Twitter really isn't the best environment to be spending hours, and it's easy to get sucked into Instagram, so I wanted to make some definitive limits for each. I set YouTube to 30 minutes, because I do use this app to respond to comments. Also, I like to watch videos on here, so I didn't want to hit it with the 10-minute limit like I did the other 2. These 3 apps were the only ones I felt I needed to limit my time on. I don't particularly get sucked into mobile gaming for hours on end, nor do I have a tendency to endlessly browse the web on my phone. So I thought that once I tackled these problem areas, the rest should simply fall into place. The next thing I did was to change my wallpaper. I chose this boring, flat, stereotypical minimalist wallpaper to replace my bright, colorful leaves wallpaper that I took last autumn. This was to essentially make the phone less interesting to look at. The theory is, once I see this plain, boring wallpaper on my lock screen, I'll be less likely to get sucked in and spend hours on my phone. First, I was also considering writing myself a little note that said like 1 hour, remember, on my lock screen and just like some basic text. But in the end, I decided against it. I realized that with the white background, I probably wouldn't need it. So yeah, that was also a consideration. And if you want to give this challenge a go yourself, then that might be a useful thing to consider. The final decision I ended up making was to stop keeping my phone in my pocket when I'm at home. This was perhaps the most important step in avoiding overusing my phone. This is because I'll often just take my phone out of my pocket when I have nothing to do and then just get sucked in. Alright, so first day with the new system. How did it go? Well, honestly, it was actually going pretty well. I wasn't overusing my phone, I was being more conscious of when I was using it. However, I didn't take into account things that might accidentally crop up, so I used a lot of my screen time in the morning. Then I accidentally had an hour-long phone call, which in turn pushed me over that 1 hour limit. Now, this was unavoidable. However, I do think I should have better planned for this. So yeah, first day is mostly positive, but it could do with some refining. On day 4, I started to get the hang of it. In fact, I immediately noticed that I was using my phone less than I was before, mostly due to me not reaching into my pocket and just surfing the web when I had some time to kill between other tasks. So it's now day 4. I finally got a new battery for the microphone so I can actually film these instead of just doing it like in retrospect. This morning, while I was having my breakfast, I used my phone a fair amount, but this was mostly Safari and YouTube, and I'm gonna try to use it slightly less today because I did go over yesterday, as you saw, but still, I'm trying to cut it down today. I still think by far the most effective thing, at least for me, was making sure that I take my phone out of my pocket when I'm at home. I found I'm using it far less autonomously, and now I've kind of got used to it, and I haven't really needed those limits. Now, granted, I have accidentally gone over on occasion, and I am today at my limit for Instagram, I think it was. So it is nice to be reminded. Yeah, I think I'm getting the hang of this now. This was also the first truly under 1 hour day at 57 minutes, and so far, it seemed the system was working well. On day 5, my usage was even better. I didn't find myself accidentally using my phone ever because I wasn't autonomously using it. I also noticed I was a lot more productive in my work. I was no longer checking my phone every few minutes or so I was a lot more focused and got my work done faster. My phone battery life had also taken a notable increase. As I mentioned before, recently I have been struggling to get through my day on one charge, but ever since I started using it less, this hasn't really been an issue for kind of obvious reasons, and it seemed that the system was working well. Day 6 was the first day where my usage finally felt natural. I wasn't thinking about autonomously using my phone at all. I regularly forgot that my phone wasn't in my pocket, which actually caused some problems. And other than for some music and send some messages, I barely spent any time browsing the web or watching any videos on my phone. So at day 6, the system finally felt mature, and I was used to using my phone significantly less. So what have I learned? Well, first of all, I learned I spend way too much time on my phone. I could easily get everything that I needed to do on this phone done in like an hour. I also learned that it's pretty distracting to my workflow, because before I'd have my phone on my desk, occasionally I would pick it up if it would buzz, and so while before I was keeping my phone face down on my desk, as it would turn out, the mere presence of it being there would often be enough for me to get distracted. So having these limitations in place when I'm trying to work was very good for my productivity. And the third thing I learned actually carries on from the first one. I really don't need my phone as much as I thought I did. Looking at my screen time, most of the stuff that I was doing on my phone before, I either didn't need to do on my phone and could transfer to like my laptop, or was just simply a waste of time. So now that the challenge is finished, what am I going to be carrying forward? Well, for one, I'm going to tell you my phone screen time for the day. So far, it's an hour and 9 minutes, which actually isn't all that bad. I'm not going to keep everything. For example, I'm not going to be that strict about sticking to that 1 hour mark. However, I am going to be leaving my phone out my pocket when I'm at home, because I found that this made the biggest difference. For example, before, when I go to like make a bagel, I'd put the bagel in the toaster and then I'd just like take my phone out my pocket, maybe go on Twitter. Before I know it, I've spent like 10 minutes, my bagel's slightly burned, just not a good time. I'm also going to be keeping some of the anti-distraction measures in place. For example, I don't need to be spending more than 10 minutes a day on Twitter on my phone. If I do need to spend more than that, then I can just go and use my computer. The increased thoughtfulness with my usage of social media over this last week has been really nice, and as I said, I waste way less time on social media. I'm also going to try to avoid using my phone if I have nothing better to do. Now, as I found out, this was the main problem in the first place. This is a bad idea. So dry. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm going to be cutting down on my media necessarily, but as I said before, I want to be more intentional with the way I use my technology. I don't just want to be using it because there's nothing else to do. Another thing I'm going to be carrying forward, which I found super useful when I was doing this challenge, is I'm going to be keeping my phone face down, on silent, and out of arm's reach when I'm trying to do my work. The increased productivity from not wasting any time on my phone was incredible. I stayed focused for longer, I was able to get my work done faster, and all in all, I didn't suffer from not being able to use my phone while I was editing. So yeah, overall, I would call this challenge a success. I think it's helped me identify the problem that I had with my phone screen time usage, and has helped me drastically drive it down. So yeah, I'd say this is a success. Alright guys, so thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, and smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I will see you guys in the next one.